Thanks, Riv. A very exciting first game of this series going to the hands of CLG. Now, something I want to talk about right off the bat is the fact that Dignitas tried to pull out this split-pushing Nasus comp again. However, this time, they also brought along with it the Amumu pick. So where do you think that that came from, Zyrene?
I feel like they were going for a split push with a good 4v4 team fight that also has some disengage from Nami, because the Amumu alongside the Orianna makes for a very deadly wombo combo, which gives Nasus enough time to TP into the backline, but they only got that combo off about one time at Baron, and it was very effective when we did see it, but besides that, they just didn't play to their comp strengths, and CLG actually outpicked them.
So, Pobelter, is there another champion that you feel could have fit Amumu's role, maybe been a little bit of an early game champion to provide some more aggression in those early minutes?
Something like Lee Sin or Elise would have worked perfectly, actually. I think even with that, though, Dig's comp still would have been lacking in a bit of early game aggression and skirmish potential. Like, Dignitas' team comp had absolutely no characters that were good at skirmishing, while CLG's had 5, so CLG was just able to kind of group up, rotate, take turrets, take dragons.
Yeah, and I think it was a really good idea to ban out the Nunu, because that would have been perfect in that composition. It would have done everything that they needed, and it would have been a steroid for Cutie Pie in the late game.
Well, and then you mentioned Cutie Pie, so now we have to jump into that bot lane just a little bit, because we saw that early aggression and the early laning power that CLG had in a huge CS difference early in the game, 100 to 50, double the CS. I mean, that puts Kog'Maw at a huge item disadvantage for those early team fights. What do you think Dig needs to do looking forward, right, to get that bot lane kind of in a good place?
Well, we saw that opening package, and Crumbs was talking about how they kind of sacrificed their bot lane and focused a little more on top and mid. And then CLG is the polar opposite. They sacrificed Seraph to go ahead and camp that bottom lane. Dexter basically pitched a tent there, and we kind of figured out, no, he wasn't just camping top in that game when they were playing Curse. He was actually camping double lift's lane when he was standing up there. So they looked to get double lift ahead, and I think what they need to do is pick a more aggressive jungler that has more control, because he got his blue buff stolen away early, and that just completely ruined his early game.
Now, Pobelter, when we were watching the game, you mentioned that the Ori versus Syndra matchup, Syndra should win that matchup. We saw an early level 4 gank there by the Amumu after losing his blue buff. So he shouldn't have really been able to have that presence. What was the factors that allowed for that to happen?
Dexter, well, like he said earlier, Dexter focuses on getting his bot lane ahead. So he was just spending like 1 or 2 minutes down at bottom while his mid laner Link was pushed up to the turret. And so it was kind of a combination of Link overextending, but also his jungler not backing him up. So Amumu was just able to get a really easy gank off.
Right. Well, another play that we saw Shifter make is actually 11 minutes into the game. Here in the mid lane, we're going to pull up a replay where he actually gets a gank from Seraph, comes down to try and kill him under turret. Pobelter, if you don't mind walking us through this play here.
So Seraph has just pushed out his lane. Nasus walking back to lane. We can roll the clip. And then so Seraph comes with the flash over the wall. And then right here, they sort of layer their CC too hard, and so they don't get the burst off. Orianna is able to pull Maokai back in through the turret. And this is really good because it really, well, you get rid of Maokai flash, and he has to spend a lot of time doing that. So Nasus gets a lot of free farm in that meantime. Maokai's flash is now down, so he can't roam around and make plays off the map. And Orianna has just gotten a kill, the sort of character that you want, getting as much farm as possible. So at this point, it looked pretty good for Dignitas, you know? Orianna now has 2 kills, not that far behind Syndra. So I thought that Dignitas could pull out a victory, but the bot lane deficit was just way too much.
I was about to say that at that point in the game, they're looking in a pretty good place on the side of Dignitas. So we have to give credit to CLG for playing their map movements correctly and playing to their strengths, warding up the top side jungle. As we heard Kobe say in the post game, they had a great vision transition utilizing Double's farm in order to snowball ahead. At that point in the game, though, Dignitas, with the power that they have, what are they looking to do? How can they combat those quick early movements by CLG?
Well, they have to get those wards down, and the fact that there's no Sightstone on the jungler here, it's not a Sightstone-based jungler, which Nunu would have brought to the table. So once again, big shout out there to CLG to learn to ban that out and not allow that control for Dignitas, because it plays right into Crumb's hands. They need something more aggressive that has more pressure. He got that gank in the mid lane, but the fact, like, I want to go back to it too, that he lost his blue, it went to double lift. So Double Lift had Dexter camping that lane. He had a blue buff early on Lucian, massive wave clear against the lane bully of Nami, who usually just trades and out-trades you, but they came out on top and they just continued to just get vision down there. They had a bad TP by Zion Spartan to give up a kill early. And then those types of misplays cost you a bunch against a team like CLG, which will start to get the second dragon off of you. They'll turn that dragon into more wards and more coverage. I think they need to go back to their roots here and go back to the Dignitas that we saw during the first half of the split, where we couldn't shut up about how much vision they had over the map. And they'd just kind of fallen by the wayside.
Well, so CLG then continued to roll that vision control into an early Baron. Following that, pretty soon after, we're going to pull up a replay here of a mid lane turret dive where Doublelift picks up a quadra kill. So on top of already being fed, he gets more fed.
Yeah, so what ends up happening here is they have the Baron buff. Doublelift has 60 more CS than Cutie Pie at this point. And Amumu will come in, blow everything, and that sets them up for the turret dive. We'll start rolling the clip here because Amumu is the biggest threat when you're diving a turret on this composition that Dignitas has. Crumbs comes in, he lands the bandage, he blows his ultimate, but then he gets blown up by Link, and then Doublelift, he's completely free to just clean up. Gets a culling, goes through, and they just get the resets on Dexter for the extra slow from his W, which is evolved, which I absolutely think that's the best way to pull this off, is to get that extra slow from your W evolution.
From there on out, seemed like a pretty methodical game for CLG. They had a lead. It did take them a little while just to maneuver around the map, pick up a couple more Barons, things like that. But now looking forward, Pobelter, I want to pose one last question to you. CLG got 3-0'd in the previous round. Now they're out to a pretty good start here, 1-0 in this series. So that's got to be a pretty big confidence boost. But now, what are the discussions like within the team in order to keep that kind of level head, move forward, use your lead in your advantage, to get through this series?
CLG, I'm sure, is feeling very confident after that first game. Everyone always says that the first game is a precursor to the entire series, so Dignitas kind of has to recoup their sort of mental state of mind, I guess, and then make sure that their bot lane just doesn't go on complete tilt and is able to keep up.
All right, well, they've got a few more minutes to do so. After the break, we'll see if Dignitas can tie it up in Game 2 versus CLG Gaming. Stay with us. The North American LCS Summer Playoffs continue after this.
Shifter gets hit, the Arcane Smash goes down. Is it going to be enough? No, it will not. Oh, he picks up the kill. A beautiful flash from Link there on the Shockwave, and Shifter will be taken down. CLG is ignoring turrets, and they are dropping Dignitas. Just a little short, but CLG re-engages.
Link with the flash in and ultimate for the kill.
On the backside, ready to shut anybody down that comes in. Beautiful peel off right now.
Oh, the double
delivery. Beautifully done. Really beautifully done by CLG Gaming coming into the first one. Dignitas Kiwi Kid gonna go down.